see more than any human being in history ever has, and you remember almost none of it. You are more connected than any generation that came before you, and you have never felt more alone. You are scrolling through life, while life is scrolling past you. You picked up your phone for 2 minutes. That was 45 minutes ago. You didn't plan it. You didn't even enjoy most of it. But somewhere between the news story and the workout video, and the argument in the comments and the recipe you'll never make, time disappeared. And when you put the phone down, something felt off. Not relaxed, not informed, not entertained, just hollow, vaguely anxious, a little more tired, a little less like yourself. That feeling has a name. It has a mechanism. And once you understand what's actually happening inside your brain when you doom scroll, you will never look at your phone the same way again. Because what doom scrolling is doing to your brain isn't just wasting your time. It is systematically dismantling the version of you that was capable of more. Your brain wasn't built for this. Your brain was not designed for the modern internet, not even close. For the vast majority of human history, the amount of information a person encountered in an entire lifetime was roughly equivalent to what you scroll past in a single afternoon. Your nervous system evolved in that world. And then, almost overnight, in evolutionary terms, it was dropped into this one, where in 3 minutes you can witness a natural disaster, watch someone's wedding, read about a political crisis, feel outrage, feel joy, feel fear, feel nothing, and then start the cycle again. Humans were never meant to see such a wide variety of topics in such a short period of time. Your brain experiences this as chronic, unresolvable stress, not the sharp-focused stress of a real threat that demands action and resolves, but a never-ending flood of emotional signals with nowhere to go. Your brain keeps trying to process, to categorize, to respond, but the feed never stops. The emotional charge never lands anywhere, so your nervous system stays in a permanent state of low-grade activation, alert, unsettled, scanning, without ever completing the stress cycle or returning to genuine rest. This is measurable neurological dysregulation, and it is just the beginning. Your phone is a gambling machine in your pocket. Everyone talks about dopamine when they talk about phone addiction, but most people have it wrong. Dopamine is not a pleasure chemical, not a reward chemical. Dopamine is a learning chemical. Your brain releases it most powerfully not when you receive a reward, but when the reward is unpredictable. Neuroscientists call this reward prediction error, RPE. When you get exactly what you expect, dopamine releases modestly. When you get something better than expected, it surges. When you get less, it drops. And the most powerful dopamine response of all? Variable reward. Sometimes you get what you want. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes a little more. Sometimes nothing. This is precisely how slot machines work, and it is precisely, deliberately, how your feed was designed. The people who build these algorithms understand RPE at a neurological level. Every variable is calibrated to maximize that reward prediction error, to keep your dopamine system perpetually activated, to keep you in a state of neurological anticipation that compels the next scroll before the current one has finished loading. You get what you wanted, then you don't, then more than expected, then nothing, then something that stops you cold, over and over and over again. It is a micro-gambling gambit running continuously, built into the architecture of every feed you've ever used. The goal was never your satisfaction. The goal was your continued engagement. An engaged user is a dissatisfied user who believes the next scroll might finally deliver what they came for. It never does. And this leads to dopamine overload. When your dopamine system is artificially activated hundreds of times a day, your brain does what it always does under chronic overstimulation. It adapts. It dials back the number and sensitivity of your dopamine receptors to protect itself. The result, your baseline stimulation threshold rises. Things that used to feel rewarding start to feel flat. A conversation with a friend, a walk outside, a quiet evening, your own thoughts. Not because those things have changed, but because your brain's reward system has been inflated by thousands of microdopamine hits at a pace no natural human experience could ever match. You're not bored because your life is boring. You're bored because your brain has been spoiled into needing a level of stimulation that real life was never designed to provide. And the trap closes. The thing causing the flatness is the only thing that still cuts through it. So you go back to the feed, which raises the tolerance further, which makes real life flatter, which sends you back. This is not a metaphor for addiction. This is addiction, neurologically indistinguishable from it. Every piece of content requires a cognitive response. Every context switch burns glucose. Every emotional signal requires regulation. Your brain is not relaxing when you doom scroll. It is working, constantly, shallowly, without recovery. This is why you can spend 3 hours on your phone and feel more exhausted than if you'd spent 3 hours doing something genuinely demanding. Researchers call this ego depletion, the exhaustion of cognitive resources that leaves you less able to focus, regulate your emotions, resist impulses, and pursue what actually matters. You're not failing to do the hard things because you lack discipline. You're failing because your brain is running on empty by the time you get there. One of the quietest and perhaps the most devastating damages of doom scrolling is emotional numbness. When you're exposed to hundreds of emotionally charged stimuli every day, outrage, tragedy, humor, beauty, horror, inspiration, all in rapid succession, all without resolution, your emotional system does what your dopamine system does. It adapts. It dims. Gradually, imperceptibly. You start noticing that things don't land the way they used to, that you can scroll past genuine tragedy, genuine beauty, genuine human connection, and feel approximately nothing. Psychologists call this emotional blunting, a measurable reduction in the range and depth of emotional response following chronic overstimulation. It doesn't just affect how you feel about content, it affects how you feel about your own life. The joy in ordinary moments gets harder to access. Real life starts to feel like low resolution. You have been emotionally recalibrated by a system that was never designed to help you feel more. It was designed to keep you feeling just enough to stay. Your prefrontal cortex, responsible for focus, planning, and complex decision-making, requires sustained, uninterrupted engagement to function at full capacity. Doom scrolling is the neurological opposite of this. Every scroll is a context switch. Research has found that after any interruption, it takes an average of 23 minutes for the brain to return to deep focused work. If you're switching constantly, you may spend your entire day never reaching the cognitive depth where your best thinking actually lives. But more troubling than the immediate drain is what happens over time. Neuroplasticity works in both directions. The more you doom scroll, the more your brain rewires itself to demand constant novelty. Deep focus starts to feel not just difficult, but genuinely uncomfortable, intolerable. The capacity for sustained attention, the exact capacity required for everything meaningful you want to do, quietly erodes. Just a little less every day until the person who could sit with an idea for an hour feels like someone you used to know. Here's what goes deeper than all of it. There is a feeling that lives inside you, the restlessness that points somewhere, the low hum of knowing you are capable of more than you are currently doing, the discomfort of the gap between who you are and who you sense you could be. That feeling is not a problem. That feeling is the mechanism. It is the psychological pressure that throughout human history has pushed people to create, to build, to grow, to change. That discomfort was supposed to move you. But the moment it begins to rise, the moment you feel the restlessness, the quiet dissatisfaction, the edge of something important, your phone is there, immediately, offering 1,000 ways to not feel that feeling anymore. And instead of propelling you toward the discomfort that leads to genuine change, it dissolves that motivation into content, into someone else's life, into one more video of someone chopping wood, making soup, building something you'll never make because you watch them make it instead. One more cat video, one more stranger breaking ice, one more curated, algorithmically delivered distraction from the person you were in the middle of becoming. And the cruelest part? You won't settle into a version of yourself you're actually happy with through this. Because deep down, most of us know we can be more. That the gap between who we are and who we could be is real and closable, and ours to close. But that knowledge, instead of becoming action, keeps getting suppressed, shoved down, scrolled past, until the feeling gets quieter, and the scroll gets easier, and the version of you that wanted more starts to feel like it belonged to someone else. You don't beat a design system through willpower alone. You redesign the environment. And redesigning the environment starts with something surprisingly simple. Delete the most addictive apps from your home screen. Move your phone to a different room at night. Make the unconscious grab conscious. Every additional step between impulse and action reduces the automatic reach. The first 30 to 60 minutes before you've checked anything are neurologically the most valuable of your day. Your dopamine baseline is unmanipulated. Your attention is unclouded. Use this window for building and thinking, not consuming. The next time you feel that restlessness, don't reach for your phone. Sit with it for 5 minutes. Let it point somewhere. Ask what it's actually telling you. That discomfort is not a problem to be solved with content. It is a direction trying to emerge. Detox deliberately. A deliberate period of reduced stimulation, even a single day without feeds, allows your dopamine receptors to begin recalibrating. Ordinary life starts to feel rewarding again. The quiet becomes tolerable, then pleasant, then necessary. Lastly, rebuild your attention. 10 minutes of single-task focus. No switching, no checking. Then 15, then 30. You are not just building a productivity habit. You are literally reconstructing neural pathways that doom scrolling has been degrading. Every session of sustained focus is neurological repair. You are not weak for struggling with this. You are a human nervous system navigating something it was never designed for. A system built by some of the most sophisticated behavioral engineers on the planet, optimized across hundreds of millions of data points, specifically engineered to keep you exactly where you are. That is not a fair fight. But here is what is also true. The dopamine overload can be reversed. Your receptors will recalibrate. The mental fatigue will lift. Your cognitive resources will replenish. The emotional numbness will thaw. The capacity to feel your own life deeply, to be moved by ordinary beauty, by genuine connection, by the quiet satisfaction of building something that matters. That capacity is not gone. It has been suppressed. And that feeling, the one that keeps surfacing no matter how many times you scroll it back down, the one that knows you're capable of more, that feeling is still there. It has been waiting patiently underneath every scroll, every feed, every algorithmically delivered distraction from your own potential. Every time you choose presence over feed, creation over consumption, your own unfolding life over a highlight reel of someone else's. You are reclaiming the neurological architecture that makes everything you actually want possible. Your attention is the most valuable thing you own. Spend it like it is.